Hello, my name is Tara Kachaturoff, and I'm the host of Michigan Entrepreneur, where we feature businesses from startup to stellar. This week we have as our special guest Ken Gross, who is the managing shareholder of Thav, Gross, Steinway & Bennett. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Tara. It's nice to be here.
Well, it's nice to have you here too, Ken, because you're practically a celebrity. We always hear on TV about the law firm of Thav, Gross, Steinway & Bennett, and we're finally meeting one of the managing shareholders of that.
I'm tickled to death to hear that the advertising over these years has worked.
It has worked because I knew right away when you were referred to me, I knew, oh, I know who he is. Kind of.
Yeah, I remember a couple years ago I was in an emergency room with my daughter and she was waiting and I had to fill out the form of where I was employed and the nurse said to me, oh, I know Thav, Gross, Steinway & Bennett. And that's like the last time someone told me that since you just did right there, but I appreciate it.
No, it does work. It does work. And I don't watch a lot of TV, so you caught me at a good time whenever that was. Anyway, we're here today to talk to you about what you do in your law firm and also to talk about some of the entrepreneurial things you're doing as an attorney, which are also very interesting and will be interesting to not only the people who are entrepreneurs and showing how people who are in professional services are branching out and doing other things, but also to people who are going to be really interested in finding out more about your show, which involves financial crisis, which is a topic on the minds and in the hearts of many people, especially in this area. First off, why don't you tell us a little bit about the firm and the types of litigation and things that you handle at Thav Gross?
Sure. We've been together in fact, Chuck Thav and I started the firm 26 years ago.
I have to ask, how did you meet?
I actually clerked for Chuck. A friend of mine, I had an accounting background and so did Chuck, and a friend of mine was working for him as a clerk. And I was in my second year of law school, and I was looking for a clerk job, so I came and I was working for him part-time. We became very good friends very quickly, and shortly thereafter we decided, even as I was starting my third year of law school, that we'd become partners once I graduated I went to Wayne Law School, and so once I graduated we started the firm. And he was actually on Telegraph in Bingham Farms at the time, and we've moved offices a couple of times, but it really, it got started back then. And kind of grew from there. And,
so you basically started a firm right out of law school?
Yeah, well, Chuck's 10 years my senior, so from that standpoint, he had an existing practice and business going. But yeah, we kind of started small and kind of grew along the way. We've always focused on representing individuals in business, whether it's a business problem or a business issue, primarily business-related issues and estate planning, full-service type of things, not really personal injury and that type of work, but primarily your business, starting a new business, what happens when you're in that business, when you encounter problems. People always start off a business and they're certain that it's going to be successful and it's going to be great, similar to the way they start off a marriage. And the practicalities are, along the way, there's a lot of bumps and roads that you have to go through, and then you run into problems. And then you run into the perfect storm, which is the financial crisis that we're going through right now. And I think there's a major shift in the nature of any kind of a business practice in law in this particular region, actually anywhere in the United States right now, and it's all problems.
One thing I want to, before we get into more detail about what you do at the firm, can you speak a little bit about the importance of having an attorney early on when somebody's getting ready to start a business, thinking about business, starting the business, because this is something entrepreneurs often don't think about or want to get involved with an attorney because they say, oh, I'll just wait until I get sued or something like that.
Yeah, it's like
speak to the importance of
that transmission commercial, which was pay me now or pay me later, is always a good example of that. But you need to do planning because you need to plan for contingencies that when you're starting a new business, you're only focused on the top side. There's no inkling in your mind that anything could possibly go wrong. And from what the lawyer does is the lawyer adds a level of detachment to the process and contingency planning on what could go wrong. If you've got a business and you're starting with 2-3 partners, well, 2 partners is a 50-50 relationship, so there's more of a balance. 3 partners, there's always the potential down the road that 2 partners are ganging up on the 3rd partner. And what a lawyer will do is a lawyer will sit down with those 3 people that are best friends, they're starting that business and they can't possibly imagine there ever being a problem, I'll sit there and say, listen, there's a likelihood or there's a chance that that problem could happen. Do you want to put into writing an agreement to protect each other from that contingency? And it's those types of issues, and also tax planning issues. And yesterday, someone was in my office and they asked me, what did I think about Zoom.com, which is the, you see it on TV and on the radio a lot, where they're providing all the forms with a zillion qualifications saying, you know, we're not lawyers, just fill out the forms. You don't need us.
Work.
You know, do the estate plan, you know, fill out your corporation. And my response to the person who asked me was, filling out the forms is not really what you're hiring and paying a lawyer to do. That's the easy part. It's knowing which forms to fill out. Do you want to, if you're starting a business, should it be an LLC? Should it be a corporation? Should it be a sole proprietorship, or, you know, which it should never be a sole proprietorship, but people still make those mistakes. And it's not, you can't get those answers just by Googling it and,
right.
and asking the question. You'll get 7,000 articles, but how are you going to know which article is right and which article is wrong?
And what about family businesses? You know, I know people want to do business, you know, and I've seen some disasters happen to people I've known. You know, two brothers go into business, start, you know, a bagel franchise thing, and then one of them has a divorce and they have to start closing down all their stores. I mean, I've seen these things happen. I mean, families need to understand sometimes you have to get an attorney involved even in things with the family, right?
Yeah, families actually can be more difficult.
More difficult?
Yeah, because the consequences of problems family are more dramatic, because not only does it destroy the business, it also destroys the family. Yeah, so there is that need, and sometimes there's resistance. You know, it depends on who the players are. You know, is it two brothers? Is it the father and the son? Is it the father and two sons? But absolutely, that kind of planning is always prudent. It doesn't have to be frivolous, but it definitely should go in there. A lot of times you'll see franchisees, and they come in and they're on such a tight budget that they've allocated all of their money to pay the franchise fee and construction, and they're so worried about, you know, $1,500 or $2,500 of legal expense to do the planning the correct way. You know, when I see that situation, it's like, you know, you kind of say to yourself, if they're that tight going in, God help them if anything goes wrong along the way. You need to have, you know, you need to have a budget. You need to have wiggle room. Even more so now, because you can't walk over to your friendly bank and ask them to borrow money unless you're sitting on liquid cash that you want to pledge as collateral. So, you know, so it's tough, but it's definitely an important thing for people to do.
And I'm sure you've seen lots of situations or come in after the fact because people didn't do that kind of planning and get the right legal counsel, and you know, you're trying to clean up a mess afterwards, which is much more expensive. Yeah,
from a lawyer's perspective, that's what we see all the time, and that's why the lawyer's always the skeptic sometimes, because he's always looking at, you know, whenever you give him a problem to analyze, he always analyzes the downside. Okay, the two people are going into business, they're going to make $1 million, so, and he's sitting there saying, well, what if you don't make $1 million? What if, you know, what if you haven't paid your payroll taxes, and who's going to be liable for that? And is one partner one partner financially strong, one partner financially weak? Do you have to point out to the financially strong partner that he'll end up liable for all those taxes if the company goes down because the other partner's uncollectible?
And then all the other problems, what if your employee starts embezzling money, or there's a lawsuit or a product defect or God knows what?
Unlimited number of problems that you can run into.
So people